We will ensure that criminals masquerading as hoodlums will be fished out and dealt with.
President Muhammadu Buhari has vowed that his government will protect all religious and ethnic groups, whether majority or minority, in line with its responsibility under the Constitution. He warned that the government will not allow any ethnic or religious group to stoke up hatred and violence against other groups. This is according to a statement by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Publicity, Garba Shehu. It said it was in reaction to reports of a breakout of violence in some parts of the country by some ethnic and sectional groups. The President condemned such violence and gave the assurance that his government will act decisively to stop the spread of any such violence. Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo has condemned the violence that led to the loss of lives at the Shasha market in Oyo State, calling for peace between the northern traders and those in the southwest. Professor Osinbajo made the appeal while addressing journalists after he paid a condolence visit to the family of Lateef Jakonde, former governor of Lagos State. The vice president said the market has been a melting pot for traders, bringing foodstuff from the north to the southwest for decades, and they have lived in peace and even intermarried. He believes that when a disagreement arises between individuals or criminal act is committed by one against the other, Nigerians must ensure that they see it for what it is, and which must be punished according to the law and not as an ethnic conflict. The vice president also believes that every Nigerian has a constitutional right to live, work, and enjoy their lives in safety and peace under the law. Former Governor of Ekiti State, Ayodele Fayose, has called on Governor Seyi Makinde of Oyo State to be more proactive in fighting insecurity in the state. He made the appeal while reacting to the recent security tensions and most recently the violence that broke out in Shasha Market in Akinyele local government area of Ibadan. The state governor also called on all governors to come together and collectively fight the growing wave of insecurity in the country. Following a series of backlash trailing his recent comments on the herders controversy, Bauchi State Governor Senator Bala Mohammed Abdul Kadri has defended himself, saying he was misunderstood, insisting, however, that carrying of AK-47 rifles by Fulani herders was the last option for self-defense. The governor, in a press release issued by his SSA media, Mokta Gidado, stated that to the extent that not every herdsman is a criminal, the reference to AK-47 was simply to put in perspective the predicament and desperation of those law-abiding Fulani herdsmen. He explains that while carrying out their legitimate cow-rearing business, have become serial victims of cattle rustling, banditry, kidnapping, and assassination. And let's now turn to other stories. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has dragged President Muhammadu Buhari to a federal high court in Abuja over the Companies and Allied Matters Act, CAMA 2020. SERAP said it asked the court to stop President Buhari from using draconian provisions of the act to target activists, religious associations, charities, NGOs, and professional bodies under Part F. The defendants in the suits filed at the Attorney General and the Corporate Affairs Commission. SERAP had in August 2020 written a letter to the President requesting him to revoke his assent to CAMA 2020 and return it to the National Assembly for a repeal of the provisions. The Public Complaints Commission in Nigeria has lamented the poor attitude of public officials towards responding to official communication directives. The Chief Commissioner, Public Complaints Commission, while given a scorecard of activities in the last 2 years, said that of the over 100,000 complaints received by the Commission, it has successfully resolved over 80,000.
Whatever your negligent attitude, a letter coming from the Public Complaints Commission must be responded within 30 days. I just told you that it took time for us to get this into the heads of public functionaries in this country to respond to communications from the Public Complaints Commission. And this is not supposed to be restricted to the Public Complaints Commission alone. Communication between government should respect the needs and content of those communications. There is no need responding to a communication which is life-saving when a life has already been lost.
Meanwhile, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs has urged parents to encourage their girl child to focus on science. The Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Tallen, made the call as the federal government marked the International Day of Women and Girls in Science at the Girls Science Secondary School in Kuje, Abuja. Tallen asked teachers to be more sensitive to the activities of students, and she urged them to always reward girls that performed well in science-related subjects in a bid to motivate them.
Parents should start early to dismiss the notion among the children that science is too tough for girls. No. The best scientists are the women, and you can make a difference. Teachers should be more sensitive to activities of the students in the classroom and motivate girls who perform well in science.
70% of girls who start primary school, only 10% actually stay on to complete their education, their university education. This is a critical problem that needs to be addressed. How do we encourage girls to take up STEM subjects? How do we change society perception on who a biometric scientist like me should be?
With our half of Nigerian population being young people, a majority of these young people are girls, our future is indeed very bright. You have the choice to be part of Nigeria's greatness. Please, young ladies, do not be caught in the failures of the past. But you can choose to make it better. You can choose to make Nigeria a better place. Don't give excuses at all. Don't accept failure.
I'm not sure if there are other states, how many states in Nigeria that actually have this kind of school that are focusing on science for girls. So we want to use the opportunity to call on Nigerian government, the state governments to ensure that sciences are actually placed on the table of discussion in terms of ensuring that girls are given the same opportunities at all levels to aspire to get into.
The Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has recorded 520 new cases of COVID-19, bringing the total number of infections in the country to 146,184. The NCDC announced this on its official Twitter handle on Sunday. Nigeria also recorded 5 COVID-19 deaths, raising the total fatality in the country to 1,752. More Nigerians have continued to test positive for COVID-19, and more deaths have been recorded from its complications. Zimbabwe has received its first batch of 200,000 doses of Sinopharm donated by the Chinese government in the fight against the coronavirus pandemic. Zimbabwe received its first delivery of the Sinopharm doses on Monday at the Robert Gabriel Mugabe International Airport in the capital city, Harare. The Chinese coronavirus vaccine was donated by the East Asian nation's government, while another batch of 600,000 doses purchased by Zimbabwe is expected to arrive early next month. This shipment from China comes after prior vaccine dose deliveries to Egypt and Equatorial Guinea. And in other parts of Africa, South Africa's embattled former president Jacob Zuma, has yet again failed to appear before a judicial panel probing corruption during his 9-year tenure. 79-year-old Zuma refused to comply with the order from the Constitutional Court, which ruled last month that he has to appear before the panel this week. In January, the court also ruled that Zuma has no right to remain silent during the proceedings. The ex-president, however, accuses the commission of bias and has demanded that its chair, Deputy Chief Justice Raymond Zondo, recuse himself from the anti-corruption inquiry. Zuma came into power in the year 2009 and was forced to resign in 2018 over graft scandals involving an Indian business family, the Guptas, who won lucrative contracts with the state companies and were allegedly even able to choose cabinet ministers. Sudan has strongly condemned Ethiopian aggression on its territories, the direct violation of its sovereignty, and the safety of the Sudanese lands. The Sudanese Foreign Ministry issued a statement describing the aggression on Sudanese territories as an unacceptable and regretful escalation. The statement said that Ethiopia's actions would have a dangerous impact on security and stability in the region. Sudan also called on Ethiopia to return to dialogue and to complete the redemarcation of the agreed borders and to place signs indicating them. Outside Africa, Myanmar's ousted leader Aung San Suu Kyi has been remanded in custody until Wednesday, February 17th. Her detention was due to expire on Monday, February 15th, but her lawyer, Kin Zhou, announced the change on Sunday. Meanwhile, protesters have begun gathering again to demand her release and an end to military rule. The February 1st coup and the arrest of Suu Kyi and others have sparked the biggest protest in Myanmar in more than a decade. Security forces in Myanmar deployed armored vehicles in major cities 2 weeks after the military overthrew Suu Kyi's government and detained her on charges of illegally importing 6 walkie-talkie radios. A British man pleaded guilty on Monday, February 15th, to breaking Singapore's strict coronavirus rules by sneaking out of his hotel room to meet his fiancée while undergoing 2 weeks of mandatory quarantine. 52-year-old Nigel Skia now faces 6 months in prison for leaving his room 3 times on September 21st last year. The sentencing is expected to take place on February 26th. Quarantine violations carry a penalty of a fine of up to $7,565 or up to 6 months in jail or both. British human rights lawyer Karim Khan has been elected as the new International Criminal Court chief prosecutor. He will take over the daunting job in June from the incumbent chief who was sanctioned by the US over her investigations into the Afghanistan war and the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. 50-year-old Khan previously led a special UN probe into crimes by the Islamic State extremist group, in which he pressed for a trial on the lines of Nuremberg for Nazi war criminals. More controversially, he also represented late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi's son, Saif al-Islam. In business, former Nigerian Finance Minister Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala looks set to be confirmed on Monday as the first woman and first African leader of the World Trade Organization, WTO. The WTO has called a special General Council meeting, and Okonjo-Iweala is expected to be formally selected then as the new Director General of the global trade body. U.S. President Joe Biden strongly swung behind her candidacy shortly after the only other remaining contender, South Korean Trade Minister Yoo Myung-hee, pulled out. The Nigeria Customs Service, NCS, is set to commence implementation of tariff reduction on vehicles before the end of this month. The NCS Controller General, retired Colonel Hamid Ali, made the announcement in Abuja on Sunday. He said that the commencement of the policy followed the transmission of the directive to the NCS by the Federal Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning. On January 26th, the customs boss had stated that the NCS was waiting directives from the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning on the implementation of the Act. President Muhammadu Buhari signed the Finance Bill 2020 into law on December 31st, 2020, stipulating downward review of excise duty on tractors and motor vehicles for transportation. In entertainment, Britain's Prince Harry and his wife, Meghan Markle, are expecting their second child. Their spokesperson said this in a Valentine's Day statement on Sunday. The couple released a black and white image of them under a tree, all smiles, with Markle, aged 39, showing signs of pregnancy. The news follows Markle's disclosure in the New York Times in November that she had suffered a miscarriage in July. A Buckingham Palace spokesman said Her Majesty, Duke of Edinburgh, Prince of Wales and the entire family are delighted and wish them well. In sports, Nigerian-American Kamaru Usman described how difficult it was to fight his friend Gilbert Burns at the UFC 258. The welterweight champion said that the two grew up in the sports together and stated that he was proud of the Brazilian. Usman recovered from an early blow in the fight to stop his opponent in the third round and afterwards demanded more respect from the media. Meanwhile, Burns explained that he got too excited after an early success in the bout and that he needed to cut out mistakes if he wanted to be a world champion.
On your performance this evening?
Hold on 1 second. Hold on, son. I got a call. What you talk? I know hear you. Thank you. Oh God, we don't do on.
I don't want to watch you for after the post. Oh God! Hey baby, I love you.
Okay, I go call you after I finish.
I'm your #1 fan in the whole wide world, and still.
Thank you now. Thank you now. Lie. Don't tell them before Nanjano they ever carry lies. Okay, I go call now after I did press conference right now.
Call me after.
Okay. That's my dad, if you guys didn't know.
You sounded like he was a little excited.
He was a little excited. You know, this one was a tough one because obviously I couldn't have him here to watch this because of the COVID. And plus, I didn't want to cheat him of the experience. It was a little tough. This one was tough for me. This one was very tough for me because Gilbert is somebody that we kind of grew in the sport together. And it was somebody that we shared a common goal. We both wanted to be the best in the world. Obviously at two separate respective weights. But, you know, it was a tough one for me because Gilbert, and first and foremost, I want to say, I'm proud of Gilbert. I'm very proud of him. I'm no stranger of. He recomposed himself. He got back on the horse. He moved up on weight class, and he tore through that division. He deserved to be in there with me tonight, and I'm extremely proud of him for that.
Wasn't exactly where I want to be. I think I get overexcited, and when my guy Cody Garbrandt crazy, you know, as soon as I heard him, and that was the second time, you know, I think I did make the same mistake when I fought Dan Hooker, and I got overexcited, and then to become a champion in that game, I cannot make those mistakes, you know, and but like the way I see right now, I just want to do like Robbie Lawler. You know, he was the only guy, if I'm not wrong, that lost to Johnny Hendricks, and then just got right back, got a couple wins, fought again, and became a champion. And then that's exactly what I'm going to do, you know.
And that's the news at this hour. For more stories and updates, please follow us at Plus TV Africa on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel at Plus TV Africa. We'll be back later with more stories. I am Annetta Felix. Thanks for watching.
even if INEC opens their portal today for continuous registration, would rather complain than go to register.
If we go and know, are we going to change Africa? Because what did they do to make our lives better since
will
then?
inspire you.
Inspire us to be like who? Like our Lord.
Inspire you to know that once upon a time, some people also struggled.
They don't even consider it that it's important to make the place conducive for people living with disabilities.
More accessible.
Because Nigeria has actually gone too far the other way to come back to look after the disabled.
Somebody rigs the election and then he's, fraudulently sworn in. He goes for Thanksgiving. The rest of us will join, Your Excellency.
Yeah.
But the day he's removed, we say he was corrupt.
Don't forget the political angle.
You mean brown envelope will stop?
No, brown envelope will, I don't want to say will not stop, but I've done hand like this, Sha. But quickly.
Politics has helped shape the decision of the polity, from conspiracy theories to good old-fashioned comic politics.
These are the results of tomorrow's election. Okay, you have it already, have you?
I am not hungry. If I need appointment, all I need to do is to start praising government.
Plus, politics will fill the polls of the country, from friends to frenemies, even strange bedfellows, to clones and stooges. We go beyond the rhetorics and the drama to analyze the story behind the story.
Let everybody come and say. The moment we stop having charlatans occupy political offices, we will curtail hate speech.
Plus Politics, not just another political show. It's about putting you, the citizens, in the know.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayuwa Mesale. This week is back to back, but I'm happy it's Friday. Thank God it's Friday. I love my Fridays. All right, so I have Akanimo Ojo and Jennifer joining me via Zoom. Jennifer is doing Zoom for the first time since she got stuck on the mainland. Okay, let me start with you. How are you doing?
I'm excited about this weekend. Really, thank God it's Friday. I am tired.
I'm telling you, like, I am extremely tired. Like today, I had a terrible headache. You know, I just said, I cannot come and kill myself. It is who is alive that we do show. So I took extra like 2 hours of nap, you know, because I wake up 5 a.m. every day. So I don't know how I do it, but it's not easy. So I had to take a nap, just rest.
You deserve it.
Yes, I do. I do. So is Jennifer there now? Okay, I think Jennifer is not there. All right, so Eke, are you excited about the conversation we're having today?
Well, should I say excited? I don't know whether I'm excited about the fact that some people are being marginalized by virtue of their wealth status. So I would say I'm excited, but I'm curious about the discussion. It's a discussion that needs to be had, and I'm just looking forward to what we will unravel as we begin to discuss the realities that face us.
Absolutely. All right, so today we have an interesting conversation around COVID-19, as Eke had rightly said about inequality and all of that. So here's what we found as today's quote. Of all the forms of injustice, of all the forms of inequality, injustice in healthcare is the most shocking and inhumane. That's from Dr. Martin Luther King. I think this just sums up the conversation we're having today. So we found an interesting article that was written by our guest, Mayowa Tijani, on how COVID-19 is driving immunity inequality and what it means to you and me. So we reached out to him, and he's here to discuss it. But first, we'll take a break for what's in the news.
We can't talk about education reform if we don't decolonize our education system.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize. Because it's just cultural. And I think it's just human nature.
They stop paying us salary. I don't like remembering it.
I am angry at Nigeria. I'm angry at this government which seems to be letting us down. I'm angry at us as a people.
In the process of struggling to free myself from his hand, he tore my pants and he raped me.
Yes, I commit the first trillion.
Young girl, do you know where you are going? I say, I'm going to America. I say, now so that they talk, you are going to Libya, which America?
As it then do mark our place, some people they die now.
This is Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
You're still watching Ways. Now, despite global commitments and efforts, children around the world continue to suffer from the consequences of conflict and are still being used as expendable fuel of war. Armed forces and armed groups continue to recruit and use children, tearing them away from their families and communities. Now, cruelly stripping away their dignity and destroying their lives and their future. So insecurity prevents thousands of children from accessing quality education and healthcare, while schools and hospitals continue to be targeted. Despite being victims, children remain unlawfully in detention for their alleged or actual association with armed forces and groups. So as we mark International Day against the use of child soldiers, let's all join hands to protect our children as we win the war against terrorism. I mean, when I saw this day, it just reminds me of all the abductions and multiple abductions that have been going on in the north, where you just hear that this number of children have been abducted. I'm sure that, I mean, if not for the popular ones like the Kankara and the Chibok, there are so many children, and I am sure they're still in custody of, these abductors that are using them as, fuel for war. So I'm just wondering, I hope our government, will be able to rescue them from the hands of this, because it's so disheartening. I'm a mother. I can't even imagine that I don't know where my child is. It's really heartbreaking. Really heartbreaking. All right, AK. So let me come to you. What did you find for us in the news?
From that sad news. So before I share what I have in the news, have you observed how the news is just full of terrible news these days? I was going through, my stories to find out what I would find in the news. I just couldn't find any light. In the light of that, let me share my news. So my news is taken from Premium Times, and it is why I am stepping down from Lagos Judicial Panel youth member. So Mrs. Oduola, if you remember, is one of the people that were selected to be part of the panel that would actually, the Lagos Judicial Panel on the police brutality. Now, what she did here stood out for me. And I think anyone that has been following what is happening in the news would see that, the LCC had to continue business as usual. And that did not go well with a lot of people. Let me read her statement here directly. It says, "Let me be clear. I choose to honor the invitation to represent my peers and to stand as an example that any Nigerian has the right to demand accountability of elected government officials, and that our institution, however flawed, can still deliver justice. What I will not do is be part of a cover-up." And this was the main reason why she stepped down. Now, the two things for me, the fact that, being on this panel is a good forum, people would see her, she would contribute, but the fact that it is going against what she actually stands for, and she can leave that, is something that is not common in our clients. So you will have things happen in political offices, people will still stay with whatever it is, but that she has the effrontery, should I put, to separate herself, even though she's given a platform where she'll be noticed, but she does not want to be part of what she does not believe, is a big one for me. And I think that people should begin to see this behavior, and then maybe there will be a change somewhere down the line.
Hopefully. Interesting thing is, this particular girl or young lady, she's the one that coordinated the people in at Alausa. So she has what was called integrity capital to protect, because her integrity is on the line. A lot of, in fact, when she was drafted to be part of this panel, people were worried that she would be compromised. So it is only natural for her to at least prove to the young people that she fought for in the first place, to say, you know what, I am seeing some some background disparities and all of that. So I'll rather not, so that I don't get my hands stained, because it was based on her integrity, that she was even selected. So the government is using that integrity capital that she has, to select her, so that hopefully whatever outcome comes from this judicial panel, people would say, okay, yes, because they trust some of the people that were drafted on that panel. So it is only right for her to do that, because this is her being smart enough to protect her integrity capital. Yeah,
you rightly said, Uwa, but the funny thing, Uwa, not everyone has that, especially if they're in a position where they have other gains. Not everyone considers that, and we have seen people that have turned. But I salute her courage. I salute the fact that she wants to protect her integrity, and she wants the people that actually back her, support her, to see that she's doing what they sent her to do.
Absolutely. Do we have Jennifer there now? Oh, I think we're still having trouble with Jennifer. Okay, so my story is quite interesting. So I was just there on my own, Jejeli, and I saw a video. I saw a video on Instagram. The popular Nollywood veteran, what's his name? Pete Edochie.
Pete Edochie.
He did a video talking about how people have been pressuring him to endorse his son, that he is a good Christian from a very strong Catholic background. He's raised his children in that light and all of that. And so, his son, interestingly, his son is an actor, but he wants to go into politics. he is not really interested in politics. That's Peter Edochie now saying he's not in, but you know, he's raised his son well, he's raised all his children well, and you know, finally people have been troubling him to endorse his son. So he now did this video, right, endorsing his son for. Now, what was really interesting and very, very, I don't know how to put it, I don't want to offend people, but I'm so upset, is the position that he's endorsing him for, presidency for 2023. Come on. Like, I don't know when we would ever learn, right? We have been saying that these things do not just happen on you. So where is the local? I went on his page on Instagram to check for maybe he's done something in his local community. You don't just wake up in a country like Nigeria and say you want to just become a president just because, oh, you are young and all of that. Why can't we stop playing this kind of, I don't know, I'm trying so hard not to use an insultive word, but it is really annoying. You are a fantastic gentleman. Of course, you've done well in your career. But what is the track record? What have you done in your community? What have you done, to say, what people would muster this and someone, they will gather all the people to support you. Would he even be supported in his village? That's the question. And you now say you want to come out for presidency. Like, it doesn't make any sense. We need people that are serious-minded, in this journey for leadership in Nigeria. Young people, don't just wake up and say you want to do this. Take a cue from Shina Pella. Before you think maybe Shina Pella might not have presidency in his mind, but he started from grassroots engagement, community engagement. Now did all of that. Now he's in the House of Representatives. That is how you build. You don't just wake up and say you want to become a president, for goodness sake. It doesn't happen that way. I don't know. Maybe I'm just upset.
Take a deep breath.
But what do you think? What do you think, AK?
Make valid points.
Jennifer, what do you think? I think Jennifer is here now.
I find it really funny. Because every time we say we want good governance, and somebody just wakes up one day and says, "Oh, I want to contest for the seat of the president." How do we vote for you? We've not seen anything that you've done. We've not seen if you're actually capable. You've not shown us anything at all. So why should we believe you? Why should we trust that you can actually deliver on the job? And I think that coming for the president's seat is a reach. At least show us something. Let's see that, yes, you've done something in so place. You've delivered at this time. And then some people, at least a handful of people, can actually trust you and say that, oh, I can beat my chest that this man has done something like this. But nothing like that. We've not seen it.
And
all of a sudden, you want us to
the funny thing, I didn't even like the line of a good Christian. Don't come with good Christian for us in 2023. We don't want to know whether you're a Christian or you're a Muslim. No, that is as in we should stop all those religious lines, all those ethnic lines, cultural lines. Stop it. Don't come to me and tell me, oh, you have raised him to be a good Christian. We've seen good Christians doing good, very horrible things, right? In the name of Christianity. I'm upset, but I want to calm myself down. Let me take Jennifer's story.
Why is angry?
Jennifer, what did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so what I saw in the news today, strategy should end child marriages bearing fruits. This is from the Zambian president. So basically, he's saying that he's really fighting for the whole child bride, that he wants, according in his words, he said child marriages and teenage pregnancies are not only a violation of children's rights, but also a danger to their health. These vices impede girls from realizing their full potential. And it is not only to the girls themselves, it also affects the communities. And to be honest, I agree with him. I think it is high time that every country or every community take things like this very serious. We are hoping that Nigeria will take a cue and do the same. I'm tired of hearing about a 16-year-old girl or a 9-year-old girl getting married to a man that is 40 years old or 50 years old. What happened to the mature women out there? Have they finished? There are so many of them in the market. They are very single. Why are you going for a child who doesn't even know her left from her right? It makes no sense.
Very sad.
But I'm really happy that they are going down this route.
Absolutely.
I wish them the best.
I wish them the best as well. Thank you so much, ladies. So we're going to take a break now. When we return, we'll have our conversation for today. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, in all of Africa, with over 1.3 billion, less than 30,000 COVID-19 vaccines shots have been administered. Some may argue that Africa does not have many COVID cases as the rest of the world, but that is not entirely true, because South Africa has had about 1.43 million COVID-19 cases with 0 vaccine jabs, and Israel has had about 622,000 cases, but over 4 million vaccine shots have been given. Now, this is immunity inequality. And, you know, our guest wrote this article. This is excerpt from the article that was written by our guest in January 29th. Now, if they say that we have over 90 million Nigerians living in abject poverty, what would be the hope of these Nigerians should COVID-19 vaccine be made mandatory? That's our question for tonight. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow, or you send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. All right, so AK, when you read this article written by Tijani Mayowa, what came to your mind?
Well, I like his thinking, and I think it's one of the things that I want to explore as to what even prompted him to look at it from that light. Because when you talk about COVID, you know, most people don't go to the social impact that it has, you know, and trying to look at if these vaccines come, what are the first people that would get it, you know, and what role does poverty or what role does wealth status play in getting it? So what I really want to get into is really his mind and what led him to the things that he wrote.
So for me, I think when I saw this article, I was just thinking, you know, because whether we like it or not, sooner than later, these COVID vaccines, for you to be able to do anything, might become very mandatory, right? They will tell you you can't travel, you can't mainly travel. You know, you can't go to other countries without having that jab. You know, and given what we talked about the cost of testing, right? That is off the roof. I'm wondering 50,000 naira for test alone. I don't know if they now bring the vaccine. You know, just in case they bring the vaccine and they tell you that you have to pay money, I'm wondering, like, how much would you be paying? You understand? So it makes no sense to me. And I'd love to hear, you know, how this vaccine drive is driving in immunity inequality in Nigeria. But let me come to Jennifer. Jennifer, so what came to your mind when you read the article? Is Jennifer there? I think we're losing Jennifer. All right, so let me just bring in our guest. Tijani, like we rightly said, is the brain behind the article that we're discussing today, and he is a journalist with the Cable Network, I think. Thank you so much for joining us, Tijani.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, so you heard our little banter on the conversation. For me, I think, I don't know, it's a bittersweet feeling for me, because I know that we had talked, I think last week or so, we talked about what Bill Gates had said about primary health care, and, you know, how we are lacking in just those basic things. And we asked the question, was it worth us spending 400 billion to go and get COVID-19 vaccines, when even our primary healthcare system is not even apart, it's not up to standard, basic sicknesses that people are dying from every single day, would suffer from even just, would we curb rather, just upgrading our primary healthcare system. COVID-19 is there, yes, but we do not have those high numbers, But let me hear your thoughts, about the immunity inequality and what are the current figures, because this report that you gave us was on the 29th that you did it. What are the current figures now? Yeah. Is Africa receiving jabs now, and where are we currently today, as of today?
Okay, as of today, of course, like I said in the article, Africa is still left behind. The US, for example, has gotten nearly 50 million doses of the vaccine. Over 11 million people in the country have gotten both doses, like the first and the one that you take after about 21 days. In countries like Israel, about 6 million people have gotten the jab across the world. Of course, when I read that article, we had about 80 million people who had gotten the vaccine. Today, we have 159 doses that have already been administered. And of all that, less than 100,000 has been administered in Africa in just 5 countries. So we have Egypt, we have Seychelles, we have Guinea, we have Morocco, and then one other island country. So it's still not mainstream in Africa. A lot of people are still not getting the vaccine anytime soon. And of course, the gap is getting a lot more. Even a country like South Africa, so when I read the article, they had 1.43 million cases. Now they have 1.48, which means they've had at least 50,000 additional cases within that period of time. Mm-hmm. And they've not been able to get their hands on the vaccine. In fact, the South African variant is said to be resistant to the AstraZeneca vaccine, which is expected to come to Africa shortly. So South Africa would have to shift over to maybe the Pfizer vaccine or maybe the Moderna vaccine, basically. So as we are seeing the way things are going, it's not likely that the vaccines become like mainstream for, in fact, if you look at the numbers, even the COVAX facility, we are looking at vaccinating 20% of Africans by the end of 2021. So we are still far from where we should be.
Okay, so let's talk about these implications, this poverty, when we say 90 million people. Or AK, do you want to come in?
Oh, no, I think that your question is a follow-up, because I was going to ask it. So if your question is a follow-up, I think you should go first, because I was going to ask on another thing, actually.
Oh, okay. So I was just going to say that, what does this mean to us, Tijani? Because 90 million Nigerians living under extreme poverty, right? And COVID-19 is something that is easily transmittable. It's not something, I mean, for me, I think we have a lot of challenges in this country. Maybe COVID is not one of those. Maybe that's why God has just been good to us, that the numbers are low. But what does this portend for us? If we say that there is immunity inequality, with 90 million people living on, even with the people that are not living under that abject poverty, should anything happen, what would be the implications?
Okay, so the way to look at this is that it's a question of half full and half empty. Now, there's a narrative that has been going around in Nigeria that COVID-19 is the disease of the rich. So what this does to us is to reinforce that narrative, to say, oh, the people who are going to get the vaccine first are the rich. And of course, that's what we are seeing across the world today. So if the vaccines eventually come to Nigeria, according to the plans that we're already seeing on ground, the people that are taking it first are the president, the governors, the senators, the ministers. So we are doing two things at the same time. Now, the government would say that they're trying to reinforce the thoughts, basically make the people come to a point where they can say, okay, the president took it, for example, so the president can take it and it's fine. then maybe I can take it too. We might be thinking that that's what we're trying to do. But on the other side, what we are also trying to do is that the rich people would get the vaccine first. So we put that thinking in the hearts of Nigerians that this is what is happening within the country at this point in time, and it's going to continue like that for a longer period of time. And so, so let me use an example. We expect to get 16 million doses of AstraZeneca vaccine this month, or before June, basically. And when that happens, how do we then say, okay, who are the first 16 million? When we are making that decision, Nigeria has to be conscious to make sure that we don't just give to the rich and somehow sideline those people who are considered poor within the country context.
Okay.
That would be a miracle.
Go ahead, AK.
Okay, I was saying that would be a miracle, what you just explained. But my question is, in your article, you postulated that this inequality that we're facing now could have been avoided if we had gotten into an earlier partnership. And I want you to expound on that. Why do you believe that, we could have avoided this if we had done the right thing? Did you think we had the resources and the power to pull it off?
And what would that right thing be, Abi? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. We could have found a way around this. Now, we say today that we want to spend 400 billion on purchasing vaccines. Now, what other countries did, which was what we should have done, was to say, this 400 billion, maybe Pfizer or Moderna, just give it to one of the companies and say, take. We know that you have not found the vaccine yet, but we know that you will find it, or we're supporting the science that is going on here. And then when we put that money in, then they go into development. We have a pre-production contract with them, such that when it becomes available, we become one of the first countries to get vaccine. That was the deal Israel had, the UK had, the US had, UAE had. So basically, if we know that we were going to buy the vaccine anyway, and we had about a year, in quotes, to prepare for this situation. But what we did was hold our money, watch until the vaccine was available, but not available to us. And then we are now going to say, okay, now we have money to buy. But these people are saying, oh, yes, you have money to buy, but it's like 20 countries have paid before now, supported the science, and now they have to get before you get.
Okay.
Interesting.
This COVID-19 matter, I am thinking in my head, because I heard that some of our professors had submitted some of their testing, some of their vaccine samples, rather, that they are trying to develop also. They've also submitted it. I just heard that, I think, yesterday. So I'm wondering, you're talking about inequality and you're tying it just to the fact that the poor people cannot access the vaccines. Do we really even need these vaccines? Based on your research, as it comes to COVID-19 and the African numbers, do we even need the vaccines?
I think as long as we belong to the EU, and of course, people have said the world is a global village, and somebody said during the pandemic that the world is now a digital sitting room.
Yeah.
So as long as we live within that space, as long as we are going to be traveling, as long as we are going to be mixing with other people from other countries, I feel like we need the vaccine. However, we do not need it we do not have a dire need for it as many other countries do. So for example, I was looking at the fatality numbers today. We've had 1,710 deaths in a period of 1 year. Mm-hmm. Now, if we've had that, we've also had over 130,000 cases. Now, it shows that less than 1% or about 1% of the people who get the virus die. Mm. So it means that there are ways in which we have treated the virus over the course of the year.
Without the vaccine.
That we can, for persons that have a certain kind of immune system, people that we can say, okay, this person is dealing with this well, this person is not dealing. Okay, so I had a particular example where a friend took a COVID test and person was not feeling well. About 3-4 days later, the person was good. And then maybe like a week after that, the person got the results that was positive. But at that point, the person had beaten COVID. So that kind of person, without the vaccine, the immune system is strong enough to resist COVID. But the question is, we don't know whose immune system is strong enough. So people who have been there, who have survived, they know now their immune system is good enough. But people who have been there and have died, they know that their immune system is not strong enough. The question will now be, are you ready to take the gamble to say, I'm not taking the vaccine, I'll just like to test my immune system?
But I think a lot of us Nigerians who've been testing our immune system, don't you think that the numbers that are just, these low numbers that we're talking about is because we still haven't gotten our testing right in terms of, because all these countries that you're talking about, the way they have large positive
capacity to test
yes,
a large number
it's
of people.
The capacity for testing that is making you see the large numbers, because COVID-19, I must have easily caught COVID maybe 5-6 times, because I've not stayed in my house. I come to work every day and somebody will tell me in the office here that they have malaria. Okay, I'll be looking at them with one corner eye. I see somebody coughing. So because the thing is because COVID is just like malaria, right? For us in Nigeria. So, I'm feeling feverish, I have cough, I'm having a headache and all of that. So you know that the reason our numbers are low is because our testing is not as high as other parts of the world. And that's why I'm saying that I am very sure that the numbers for COVID-19 cases in Nigeria are much more. So now that we know, we're assuming that is the reality, why do we even need to focus on vaccine, right? Why do we need to? That's my question all the time. Why do we need to focus on vaccine? You are telling me that, oh, yes, travels and everything. Well, I agree. But should we not get to that point where we say, okay, you know what, if your immunity can carry it, let your immunity carry it, and let us carry the money and spend it on something that is more pressing in Nigeria?
Oh, I don't know what we're already doing. Isn't that how we're living? The way we're living, head community, if your immune system can carry. So, because there's nothing really that we have really done. Even the measures that have been put in place. So they say everyone wear a mask, or there's punishment. I saw a few people in the news today, they were punishing. But if you go out every day, you and I, everybody on this platform, you would see the whole mass of people not wearing masks and nothing is happening. So I think that this already herd community is already in play.
Absolutely.
I don't know about Jennifer.
Is Jennifer there now?
Yes, she is.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. We have like a minute to go on a break.
Yeah, I agree with what is saying and what Akanima has also said. But I have a question. I know that there is immunity inequality currently going on, and as Tijani has said, it was because the Nigerian government did not make preparations on time to actually pay for the vaccine. But now that we have gotten to this point, how do we move forward?
Okay.
Tijani, this is the question for you. What do you think that the government can do at this point for us to actually get the vaccine? Because I know that in as much as some people really don't care about the vaccine, there are people who actually care about it, especially those people who travel a lot, like you said.
Tijani, you will come in to answer that question, but we need to just go on a very short break. When we return, you would answer Jennifer's question. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you're just tuning in, we are discussing how we can bridge the inequality gap in Nigeria. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join this conversation. Tweet at us at WadeShowAfrica1 with the hashtag WadeShow, or send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So before we went on a break, Jennifer had asked Tijani a question. Tijani, do you mind coming in?
Okay, I think I need to say something at this point. I think we might get to a point where we need individuals to step up. So, for example, I was just thinking about it. Do you know it's more expensive to take a COVID test than to get the COVID vaccine? So would you prefer to keep taking tests when you have to show it somewhere, or when you have to travel, or than just taking the vaccine and not having to every now and then testing? So I feel like that's something that individuals will start doing, and of course, it will probably broaden the inequality, but on a local scale. And what must we do from now? I think that, they say that the responsibility of government is to protect the lives and properties of citizens. And one of the things that COVID-19 threatens is our lives. So this is another opportunity for government to prove its presence within the state by providing what is needed for the vaccine. So, of course, we are getting 16 million doses for almost free. And then we are also buying more doses with state funds and all that. But looking at it, it's not likely that we are going to, no matter what, I don't think there's any miracle around it for now. We cannot get the whole of, at least, we can't even get 50% of the country vaccinated before the end of this year. So we are looking at, say, the end of 2022 to get the amount of people that we would need to say we have herd immunity within Nigeria. So I think that if government continues to support the system as much as it can, I think a lot of monies at this point in time should go to making sure that we have the kind of facilities that make people survive this disease. So of course, we know that as it was reported in Lagos, that a lot of people come from other states and even some neighboring countries to come to the Yaba IDH for treatment, because that is one center that has proven to have a high survival rate. So I think that what we should also focus on, as we are focusing on the vaccine, is how to duplicate that kind of system across the country.
You know, this Tijani, I'm just thinking in my head, how do we bridge this gap of inequality? Why I say so is,